Okay.
Suzanne, great to see you.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on the show. And really appreciate you making the time to do that. I want to kick off with something that stuck in. I mean, it was some months back that we
Mm,
spoke. I mean, before
it was
Christmas,
a while.
and this stuck in my mind. It was you said to me, you said pelvic floor issues are not sexy, and I thought how right you are. No, tell people. I mean, why do you say that, and why does it matter, and what is it you're trying to do? Tell us about that.
It's just trying to, get to the crux of it literally, isn't it? Because pelvic floor issues aren't sexy and it's in an area that we would consider to be sexy. So the fact that there's that complete
Yeah.
differentiation is just it's just so important. It's why it's hard and why there is such also a gap in the market for doing what I'm doing. And yeah, and it's I quite like using words and entertainment and laughing because
It's certainly
actually
stuck in my mind. That's for
yeah,
sure.
it brings people to go, okay, yeah, what's this about? It's a bit more interesting. And then that engagement itself is then what drives, interest and excitement and thinking, oh, what could this be about and what
You
could we be doing?
tell us what it's about then. I mean, tell us what you're trying to do.
So I'm trying to make pelvic floor education and healthcare more mainstream because it affects 1 in 3 women, 1 in 6 men. And yet it is still taboo, isn't it? Weeing yourself or having a prolapse or pain in the pelvis is just something that we can kind of put up with or we live with, but actually can have devastating effects to people across their life. Their relationships, their ability to work. I've heard so many people who have changed careers because of their pelvises and just not being able to get the support. And we just normalize it quite often. And yet there is so much we can do. And I see it because I'm a pelvic health physiotherapist by background. And there's a real gap between that understanding of knowing you can do something and actually then getting the help and then being able to do all of
So,
the things you want to do.
I mean, I get that it's a problem. I mean, I totally understand that. Tell me, I mean, you're using technology to help fix it, if you like. I mean,
Yeah.
tell us what you're trying to do, and tell us how you're using tech to do that.
Yeah. Well, I went around it maybe a slightly different way to a normal startup. I built my audience of over 700,000 people before I built the product.
Wow.
So
That's
I've done it the other way around, but actually I think that's been probably the most important part of everything I've done
right.
is I've known there's been a big problem there. I know I got started at the beginning of my journey going, there are huge problems here, here, and here. How do I fix it? And there were certain things that I thought, oh, well, there's easy ways of doing it. Just get out there and educate. But because of the taboo nature of it, it's not as easy as just doing that. So that's what I started off doing is by seeing how can you get people engaged? How can you
And
talk to
let
people
me
about
ask
it?
you about that because it's a really
Yeah.
interesting thing that I mean, how do you? I mean, what in terms of one thing that works? What's something that works in terms of trying to engage people? Because it's as you said, I mean, taboo is probably too strong a word, but it's not something people talk about. How do
Yeah.
you engage people? I mean, what works?
It took me a while to work it out. And really, what it was ultimately was something that was very, very simple, something that was fun. For me, it was doing pelvic floor exercises using my hand, and it was people going, what is she doing? And
Okay,
so it was imperfect, but it worked perfectly.
right.
So I think quite often we go into trying to sort a solution by going, right, I need to have it perfect. I need to know what this is, and I need to be able to do this exactly. But actually, the solution isn't always what you think it's going to be. I tried so many things before I got that engagement, and it was this. All it was that. And subsequently, that
And sorry, just for the people that might be watching, I mean,
thinking, what
when
is
you
this?
do that, what exactly are you trying to communicate to people? I mean, just let's just flesh that one out so that people
Yeah.
actually understand what you're doing.
So my initial video, I had a pelvis. I should have had it here, shouldn't I? It's upstairs, but a bony pelvis with a pelvic floor in one hand, some
Yeah.
music going, and then I just did up down like this to encourage people to squeeze and let go. And of course, had some words on the screen that said squeeze, and eventually people were like, "Oh, it's not your
You're
hand, it's your pelvic
illustrating
floor."
the exercise that you want them to
Yeah.
do to strengthen their pelvic floor.
Yeah, because you can't just demonstrate not like a squat or a glute, squeeze or bridges. Yeah, you can't really see the muscle. So how do you show people I want you to squeeze that muscle very easily without saying too many words? And that became my hand gesture, which is now copied by physios and other people left, right, and centre
Okay, well,
to.
that's something to be remembered for, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. Who
Let me
thought it
ask
was?
let me ask you, seeing as you brought it up. I mean, it's an issue for women. and also men. I mean,
Yes.
just tell us about how it relates, because it's slightly different, isn't it? I mean, just talk us through the issues around women and
Yes.
then talk us through the issues around men, just so that
Yeah.
if anyone's watching and it's relevant, they understand that.
Yeah. So women, we often think about it a lot more around childbirth, and because of course
Right.
the pelvic floor goes through it at that
Yeah.
point. But actually, the pelvic floor can be impacted well before that. So in teenage years, pain with endometriosis, for example, pain with
Right.
sex, all of these things that kind of, yeah, again, don't get spoken about. So even young people can have incontinence. It does definitely raise when somebody has a baby or when somebody hits menopause. That's when the pelvic floor is more impacted. For men, it tends to be later in life. It tends to be more around the prostate and issues around there. But again, there are young men who have issues with bladders and bowels and can have pelvic floor issues as well. It just doesn't get spoken about.
And tell me about the role that technology is playing in what you're doing, because you're using tech to help people. I mean, just
Yeah, so
explore.
that's the bit I'm building at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah,
Yeah, so following building that audience on social media and getting the you kind of all immediate feedback from people. They told me what they wanted. They asked me the questions. A lot of them said, "I want this in an app." You don't come up often enough through social media. You
right.
disappear from the algorithm. Where can I access you? So I didn't come into this thinking, right, I want to make an app. I thought I want to come into this to educate and to help people access care better. And ultimately, what I've realized is we need to do that via something where you can access it in the palm of your hand without having to maybe go and speak to someone and feel embarrassed. So,
And what can they access on the app exactly? Because I mean, there's lots of apps around. I mean, including
yeah.
the NHS one. I mean, what exactly can they can access from
So
your
of
app?
course they can access this. They can access
Well,
an
that's very
exercise a day.
exciting for people.
Essentially, although it's not launched yet, it's just in beta testing at the moment.
Yeah.
It's basically Duolingo for your pelvic floor. So every day
Right.
you can do a different exercise, but then you can ask our wonderful chatbot called Pip, who's our Pip the Pelvis, questions about your pelvic floor, and it will answer with the clinical head on it. So it will give you reliable advice and then pinpoint you to different areas. So it's a bit like a little buddy that helps you to remember to do your exercises, makes them a bit of fun, but also can give you that bit of advice if the exercises aren't working as you would expect, for example.
Okay. So it's really about helping people learn about what they need to do to protect
Yeah.
themselves or to help themselves out. Yeah. So I get the logic for that. And let me ask you about building a business. I mean, you could quite easily have just stayed put and carried on doing what you're doing for the NHS, couldn't you? I mean, but you
Yeah.
decided to make the leap, for want of a better way of describing it, to become an entrepreneur. All the entrepreneurs I talk to say to me essentially that building a business is like riding a roller coaster. There are
Yes.
great days, there
I'll agree.
are
Yeah.
ups, it's a real challenge, both practically, functionally, it's hard
Yeah.
work, but also
Yeah.
emotionally, it's quite difficult. What is it about this that kind of, if you like, gets you out of bed every morning to ride that roller coaster? I mean, what is it that is so important about this for you?
It's the opportunity to make a big change, a big impact. I think I was in my NHS job, and I still work in the NHS as well because I do want to make a difference. I think that's always what's driven me with whatever career route I've taken. But just knowing that I've already, done a big chunk of getting people aware of pelvic
Yeah.
floors, and the thing that gets me out of bed is knowing that this is just the tip of the iceberg. It can be bigger. And every time I get knocked back, actually it pushes me forward a bit more because yeah, eventually I do take steps forward. And if I look at the journey going back 5 years, I've done loads. And actually it's fun. It is good fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs say that it's hard, but it's also
Yeah,
really interesting. It's all good fun, enjoyable, interesting,
yeah,
stimulating, all the
yeah,
rest. Let me ask you about. I mean, I'm interested in the way perhaps your values have influenced how you've gone about building the technology
yes.
and building the business, because the values of the NHS, I think, are quite important. I mean, people outside Britain perhaps wouldn't recognise that, but I think to British people, I mean, was it somebody said the NHS is the nearest thing we've got to a religion or something, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
the value system has the, have I mean, have you how? Well, let me ask, how have your values influenced the way you've built the business?
I think my values are very, I suppose I've got a lot of morals. So And if I've applied that then into what I've done business wise, I think making sure what I'm telling patients and people is as evidence-based and as right as possible. My values in terms of making sure that I'm not just, linking and collaborating with something that is going to do people harm has stood me in good stead. It's made it harder, I think. If I look at a lot of people who've got the amount of following that I have on social media, they've been able to make a lot more money because, they will link with brands perhaps that I wouldn't do because of where my values and my morals sit. And that's well driven because of my career and my professionalism and the experience in the NHS. I think where it slowed me down, which I've learned a lot from recently, is that because of, I suppose, more so in the UK, we think most things should come healthcare wise for free. And so I've struggled to take that leap of like, actually,
Mm.
I need you to pay for this. This is an important part and there is value in that. And I think
Mm.
um there is still that a little bit of an expectation that all healthcare should be free at the point of contact, when we need it. And actually, I've
It doesn't work
realised
that
that
way,
isn't
does it?
true.
No, it
It
doesn't
isn't
work. That's a
true.
bit like going to the dentist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And actually, the NHS itself is a business, even though we don't necessarily see it as
I
that.
mean,
It is,
doctor surgeries are mainly private sector, aren't they?
yeah,
People don't think
absolutely.
that. Let me ask you about the science thing, because this particularly interests me. I mean, during COVID, there was a lot of discussion about we follow the science. Now,
Yeah,
I have a science background. I
yeah,
actually think that's really important. Now, but there's an awful lot of people that really don't give a stuff about the science. I mean,
yeah.
has the importance of kind of evidence, science, and so on, has that influenced the way you've built the technology and the product and the
Yeah, definitely. So there's parts in there, and of course we've got huge gaps in that
yeah,
evidence base as well. So what I always like to say to people is we have evidence that this may help about 70% of people, for example. But I also say there are other things out there if that isn't helping. So it's giving people an opportunity you know, to understand what has got some evidence, but also know there are other things because as we innovate, as we grow our evidence, we're gonna need to have newer products that haven't got that evidence yet. So it's getting that bit of a fine line of going, this is what we know works. This may work, may not work, so that actually opens up people's opportunity to try different things. So yeah, I try and stick as much as I can to the evidence base, but I will also go, well, sometimes there isn't something there. Why don't you try this?
yeah. And let me ask you about the kind of something that flows from that, which is about the data that will be produced by the app. I know it's
Yeah.
not there yet, but I mean, what are your thoughts on how that data can help inform
Yeah.
what you do?
That's the exciting part, really. I think we have bits of data, but we don't have large scale amounts of data. And I think that was another thing I thought as I was transitioning from the thought of, oh, somebody wants an app, thinking actually this is a really good way of being able to help then learn to see what does work. We can trial different things out, and that and ultimately will then improve, hopefully, our understanding of pelvic health. And of course, that has benefits for huge amounts of people, whether that's the NHS, whether it's industry or just general public health, and the government. So yeah, I think it's exciting what I'm on the tip of, and I'm hoping that yeah, there will be other companies doing similar things as well. But don't underestimate the importance of data. It's just getting the data, the GDPR, and all of that in place, and being aware of all of that alongside it. But it's exciting.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because it will give you a sense of how people are responding in
Yeah,
particular, won't it? You'll know
yeah,
what they think about the things that they're doing, and
yeah.
that in itself is quite important, isn't it? The
It
things that
is.
people feel work and that they don't work, and all the rest of it. I know there's a whole clinical set of stuff that needs doing as well, but that's important. And on that specific point, I know you're not just going to focus on the UK. I'm not sure whether you've got people from outside the UK or not yet, but there seems to me one of the challenges around using technology in a context like this is that, you know, I mean, I often say to people, doing business in London is very different from doing business in Delhi
Yeah.
or, or I don't know, Japan or whatever, right? I mean, particularly because of the area of what you're working in, there will be, I'm sure, cultural sensitivities
Mm.
around that.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts? I know it's still early days, but what are your thoughts on how you're going to handle those?
Yeah.
I mean, have you
It,
got insights from the people that you've already kind of got a connection with, or have you got work to do on that, or is it?
Yeah, I think there'll always be work to do in that because there is such a range of different societies and different you know, belief systems, especially around pelvic health. Even the words that, there aren't always the words there yet. And I think what I have realized is that given a lot of people on social media have hooked into what I've done, I'm going to go down that route first, but I do hear things coming back. So even around gender, so I've modified videos based on how I word things around gender, and I think as I build, it's really important that voice that comes into the people who are using it. If I've got enough people using it, I shall use them to start off with. It will be then I'll go, right, which are the underserved, perhaps communities? Do we need to be reaching out to them and finding out? So I'm aware they're there and I see them in my clinics as well. So it's which way do you go first? So first I need to build something that's sustainable with the people I've got. And then absolutely, I mean, I set Know Your Floors up as a social enterprise in the first instance. So my aim will be eventually to use that part of the business to reach those people who don't fit into that mainstream part, who may struggle. So that's the longer term aim. And if I'll ever get there, I don't know. I think it will be a long-term job to get that message out to all the people it needs to get to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a big ambition. I mean,
Mm.
I like to see big ambition though. I mean,
Yeah,
because
I've got to
you know,
try.
shoot for the stars, that's a good thing, really. But
Yeah.
I think your analysis is probably right. It's not
Mm.
going to be an easy journey. Let me ask you about. I mean, so one is the kind of cultural differences
Yeah.
about people's willingness to talk about these things. I mean, we're relatively open in the UK. Some parts are perhaps more open about it. Other places are less open. So that's
Yeah.
going to be a challenge. But you're also going to be dealing with very different health systems. I mean,
Mm.
at the moment, as you said, one of the things about doing stuff in the UK is that people think that everything should be free at the point of contact, because that's our history in
Yeah.
the NHS. Most parts of the world don't have that. So,
No.
how are you going to take account, or what's your thinking about how you're going to have to adapt
Yeah.
to multiple types of health systems?
Yeah.
The
I
training
yeah, and
possibilities are
it's
different, aren't they?
it's a hard one. It definitely is. And I think if I'm giving that education out again, it will land very differently in different places. I think I've often thought I'm not sure the UK is the right place to really launch this app, but currently I'm kind of here and I'm not able to go anywhere different for a little while due to
So, and
family.
why do you say that? Is it because the funding is not available from investment?
A little bit the funding, a little bit also the fact that with the NHS and the way our health system is set up, I do wonder whether it would be a little bit easier, probably not. And maybe I'm naively thinking that, but to link into the health insurance models because it's more of a proactive, um, you
So it
know,
work better perhaps in the US.
yeah, exactly. So it may well do, and I suppose, you know, as my personal situation changes, if it does, that is something that I've got in the back of my head is would it be useful to be floating it over there first? But we'll see. We'll see. There's change in the UK constantly, so you never know whether insurance companies may be a good starting point here, and then I can demonstrate that model and then see what happens. Potentially looking across to go across to the USA.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's just a quick question on that point. Have you spoken to any? Because it seems an obvious thing for
mm,
insurance companies to be interested in.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or the other one that was going through my mind as you were speaking was this sort of employee well-being
yeah,
type.
yeah, exactly.
Have you spoken to any of those people? How are they reacting? Because they must.
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple of smaller companies. For me, actually, at the minute, it's trying to build that network because I'm NHS, so I can speak to anybody in the NHS. But knowing some of the others, it's trying to build outwards, and there's a lot of I suppose, positivity towards what I'm doing. There's a lot of, oh, this is great, but actually, I think to some extent, some of it is already happening with other companies and how they've got it planned out. So I've spoken to maybe one company, they've already got a semi-plan in place. So I need to spread my net a lot wider to see whether that is a potential going forward. I've been so, I suppose my community, I've built up the audience and I know exactly what they want. I need to do exactly the same now with other stakeholders, so
Yeah.
businesses.
Yeah.
So that's on the to-do list and to build really.
Mm. I mean, it strikes me that if you're an employer and you've
Yeah,
got staff that are having difficulties around that, you won't want to lose those staff. I mean, you will,
no,
but generally speaking, they won't want to lose those staff. So if you've got stuff that can help them, that is,
yeah,
easy for them to access and helps them get the help, knowledge, understanding, information, etc., that they need. I mean, it seems to me that companies would be interested in that as well
yeah.
as, which is why it plays into the kind of whole well-being
Yeah,
piece.
exactly. And there's certainly, I think I'm not sure how crowded the market is in terms of those type of things. I suppose there's lots of people coming at it from different points of view. And is pelvic health the top of the list? I hope so. That's what I
It
need
probably
to
is for
do as
the
well.
people that are struggling.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. And it's getting them to say that to their employer possibly. So there's a little bit of a bridge to do, but once I've got to that point, I'm sure it'll push either one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite an exciting idea. I mean, it's always good to find new ways to help people if
Yeah,
they genuinely are struggling. I mean, it seems to me to be a great thing to be able to offer to people because you're able to reach people that you probably couldn't reach through the kind of more conventional methods.
yeah,
Let me ask you about the process. I know you haven't completed building the business yet, um, but you have been on that journey for a while.
yeah.
Have there been any surprises along the way when you things have turned out perhaps very differently to the way that you thought they might turn out?
Yeah, I think most of it has been a surprise, to
Oh,
be
okay.
honest. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I've always had the aim of where I'm going in my head, and I'm certainly still heading in that direction. There's been things that have come at me that, you don't know what you don't know till you literally get landed with that information, do you? I never thought I would ever have done what I've done on social media, and I would never have thought I would have been on the BBC and done all of those things. I think I went out thinking if I can help one person, great. And actually, the biggest surprises have been the opportunities that have come out of the woodwork. It's not quite the right word to say, but all of these opportunities that I would never have foreseen ever happening by taking these steps to make what I thought would potentially help. So they're the biggest surprises, I think.
Yeah. And have there been any kind of critical moments when you've kind of had to say, do I go that way or do I go that way? Have you reached those kind of forks in the road and has any
Yeah,
about that
I
happened?
have, and I would say, so for example, when I set up as the kick, and knowing that actually I don't think I can build what I want to build through the kick, I can't take investment,
Yeah.
and so it's not been a huge fork in the road, but it's been I've got to amend here a little bit. I maybe not necessarily pivot, but a bit of right, we've got to think about how I structure here so that it is sustainable and we can then scale. So yeah, that's been one of the bigger ones of thinking how do I then put some structure in place, get the legal support I need, and make sure that it doesn't put investors off at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And looking forward, I mean, what do you think the kind of critical success factors are? I mean, what are the things that you think will make this a success? I know you're just on the point of
Yeah.
launching, aren't you? So, what's your view about the things that are going to make this happen?
It's the commercialization of it is will people pay for it is the key bit, and that's the crux of it. If I can start to demonstrate there is a way of that people will want to pay for it, or that there's enough way of raising income either through the data sharing, that's where I'm at. Once I've got that, the sky's the limit potentially. So
Yeah. Yeah, because having an income like that enables you to invest in the other things that you
yeah,
build
exactly.
and develop and stuff. Let me ask you about some of the things that perhaps haven't worked out as I mean, what sort of what would you say is the most difficult decision you've had to make, and what did you learn from it?
Well, that's a good one. There's been plenty of difficult decisions. I think well, the ongoing one is do I keep going at various points? Do I just stop this now? I think the most difficult decision I've had to make is yeah, it has been around, do I build this app or not? Because so many people have said, don't do it, don't do it. And I think I toiled with it for quite a long time. I kept putting
But
off thinking,
it's pretty built, isn't it?
yeah, it is now, it is built. And it was, but it was hard to take that leap, I think, as daft as it sounds, because I mean, I got grant funding. And then I got the grant funding and I was a bit like, is this really the right thing to do? Because so many people are telling me it's not.
And
And you
why,
know,
sorry, let me just ask you about that. Why were they saying don't do it? And because it's hard or because it was the wrong thing? I mean, why were they saying don't?
yeah, I think a lot of people I would speak to would say, you know, apps are expensive to make, and to maintain, and the interest in apps, from an investor point of view is pretty low because there are now so many of them.
How do you
You
stand
know,
out?
just don't build another app. And I was like, I don't want to build another app. I want to build something that's going to add value here, but it might be in app form. Um, so yeah, it's. I think it was was it a hard decision? I think I was probably maybe a little bit headstrong that I'm going to do this anyway. Um,
Entrepreneurs are.
yeah,
They just decide to do it
yeah,
anyway.
I'm going to give it a go. Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
um,
you see that all the time in entrepreneurs.
yeah,
Yeah. That's what makes them entrepreneurs, really, because they do things that most people would say, I'm not going to do that.
doing that. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the point, really. And that's what makes it interesting, and it makes the journey exciting. It doesn't make it easy, but it makes it
Yeah,
exciting.
it does. It makes it that roller coaster.
Yeah, and let me ask you about a similar related thing. I'm always interested in the kind of mistakes people make. I mean, entrepreneurs are great because they tend to be very open about the kind of mistakes they make because
Mm,
they need to fix them, otherwise they go out of business.
yeah,
If you talk to people in government, they never admit they've made a
no.
mistake, But entrepreneurs are different. They're fairly open about that. What would you say has been the biggest mistake that you've made, and what have you learned from that?
The biggest mistake I made is going into this thinking I was going to make one person better. I should have been going into this thinking I need to make money in order to make people better.
Okay,
That's
so
been the biggest mistake for me. I think I would have probably tackled things slightly differently had I gone in with that headspace of like, this is really important to make money. I just didn't go into it like that. But you learn, don't you, as you go along that it's not that. Yeah, you get you you learn, you develop, and you grow. So I now I'm not shy to kind of say, no, I'm going to be making money while I do this. I need to make money because otherwise it won't work.
yeah, that's right. Well, it's not sustainable, is it?
No, no,
You've got to make money to make it sustainable. Yeah.
yeah.
And what's the thing that? Let me ask you about the flip side. I mean, what's the bit of it that you enjoy the most?
Oh, that's I was trying to think. Oh, I don't know. It's the wins, isn't it? It's probably the dopamine hit, isn't it? It's those bits where all of a sudden you've created something, and yeah, for me it isn't because everyone's gone, oh, you're on social media, and is it about getting the praise and the reward? Actually, no. If I could hide underneath a rock, I would. It is just getting that feedback that says, oh, that's been really helpful. I didn't know about that. It's all those things where you go, oh, I've created something. I've got a whole load of people doing these things. So I've influenced a situation and I've made change that is positive and good and should hopefully help, have a bit of a ripple effect across a few people now at this point. So yeah, it's that keeps me going, and that's the buzz, the
Yeah.
dopamine
It's
hit.
really interesting you say that because I would say 99% of the entrepreneurs I speak to, and I speak to a lot, they're all about the impact.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, people want to make money, and you can't have a sustainable. It's not sustainable unless you make money, because
yeah,
But people are I mean, people think that entrepreneurs are obsessed with making money, and of course, there's an element of that, but
yeah.
most of it is about the impact. It's
It is.
interesting you describe it that way because I think that's true of an awful lot of people, actually.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
and if you were to go back to the start, knowing what you know, I mean, if
yeah.
you were to start from scratch, is there anything
Yeah.
you do differently?
Yes, all of it. Definitely. I
Any
mean,
one
you say that, don't you?
particularly?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I would have set up it as a not-for-profit initially had I realised. I think, I mean, yeah, I would have done it the other way around. I would have set up a limited company first and then looked to add on the kick subsequently. But that's probably been my biggest headache of the whole lot is how do I structure this right? That would, if I got that right at the beginning, again, that would have been a lot easier to move forward from.
Yeah, yeah, an important lesson. And
Yes.
if you were to give a piece of advice, Perhaps
listen to your audience.
not the same thing, but if you were to say to a rookie CEO who's just starting out, I mean, what other piece of advice would you offer other than
It's
start it as a business?
Yeah, no, it would be listen to your audience or whoever you're trying to engage with. That is probably the biggest thing you can do because then you get your product, it matches what somebody needs, and then you can quite easily sell. So I would always say, yeah, find out what people need first, and then find out will they pay for it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And one last question before we wind up. I mean, you're just on the point of launching. I mean, it's in a few weeks, I think, isn't it? Is it about to go live?
No, well, we've slowed down slightly
Oh, have
because
you? Right, okay,
I have slowed down. And the reason being is because what I've created needs a little bit of clinical validation. So
okay,
what we're going to probably do is do a closed trial, a closed beta with a few people
right.
first of all, and just make sure that part of it is working as we want it to do. But yeah, we're not that far. It's ready to go, so it's not far off.
And what is it that excites you about this next leg?
It's seeing the tech that we've built come to fruition and seeing it working because yeah when I first got told right it's ready to go I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to open this. I don't know if all this hard work has been worth it. I opened it up and I was like, oh, this is quite good. And it was the realization that I'd made something that I wasn't quite expecting to have made,
Right.
so I didn't realize how good it could potentially be. So yeah, it's just making sure it gets to the people is the next bit, so that and that it works as I hope it's going to in real life. So
Yeah,
that's the exciting bit, problem solving and sorting it all out.
yeah, absolutely. Suzanne, thank you for making a bit.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me along.
No, no, it's fascinating, and it's it's a really important area, and it's not something that most people talk about. So I think it's great that you're A, doing something about it, and B, that you're willing to come on here and talk about it. I mean, the audience for this is people that are interested in tech and interested in business, and I'm sure people will be fascinated by the sorts of things you're doing. So thanks for making a bit of time.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye bye.